Yo, good looks to dreadsock.com for sponsoring this episode of Real Notes. Anyone who has curly or locked hair like me knows how sacred a good hair wrap is. A do-rag, a wave cap, a scarf, a bandana, a bonnet, you name it. Dreadsock goes a step beyond the average with silk-based head wraps that offer full protection and frizz control for curls from 2A to 4C. They're made of a blend of breathable materials to help retain hair's moisture and preserve hairstyles enough to ensure a few less trips to the salon, all held down with an elastic band strong enough to withstand even the most aggressive head trips. Whether you wear one to bed or wear one on the go, Dreadsock will have you looking fresh and full. Socks come in all sizes, from shorties for short hair and beginner twists to extra large for the longer locked folks out there. Look, y'all, I've been growing my locks for nearly 2 decades and have been a loyal Dreadsock customer for 15 years. So when I tell you these shits work, I'm dead ass. Plus, they're an independent, black-owned business that's worth the time and energy. So go to dreadsock.com and use promo code CineMasai, that's CineMasai, for 10% off your first order. They won't fall off in your sleep, but they will keep you looking fresh. Thanks again to Dreadsock for sponsoring the episode. Now let's keep this shit moving. What's good, y'all? My name is Dylan Green, and this is Real Notes, a space dedicated to blurring the cultural and artistic lines between rap and film. I'm here to chop it up with everyone from rappers and producers to journalists and video directors about their relationship to movies and how, if at all, film inspires their craft. My guest this week is New York rapper, poet, performance artist, and member of the band Poetic Thrust, Nakama. We spoke about They Cloned Tyrone, our favorite recent anime, The Matrix, Pen's Labyrinth, our feelings on the series finale of Atlanta, his rap origin story, forming Poetic Thrust, his work on the multimedia piece Places, and the creative process behind a handful of his projects, including Human Error and Kindling. Come fuck with us. What's cracking, everybody? Welcome back to Real Notes. Slowly moving through time, or is time moving through us? I don't know. We're here though. We're here. We're present. I got ramen. I don't know where my water bottle went. I'm gonna need to drink something at some point. But we're here. I'm Dylan, CineMasai. Got a lot of names. Do a lot of shit. Be around. Be outside. It's still warm out. It feels great. And I'm with somebody else who also, he doesn't have a ton of names, but he does a ton of shit and has been doing a ton of shit for quite a while. Somebody who I've had the pleasure of knowing for about a decade at this point, but who more and more people are starting to get to know throughout the tri-state, New York, New Jersey, Connecticut, and everywhere else. This man's a rapper, a poet. He's a member of Poetic Thrust. He really, like, I've been meaning to ask you about this forever, but like the Hohenheim tapes, is that Full Metal Alchemist shit we're talking about right here?
You already know. Right. There's lore.
Cool. We're gonna get there, but yeah, I meant to hold it later and ask you on some Narwhal shit. But we got Nakama. Nakama's here. He's fucking doing all sorts of crazy shit, live installations, live performances. Kindling's out now on Bandcamp. It's been out since August. Go run it up. Go run all his shit up. Bro, thank you so much for being here. Like it's just been incredible to see. Like, you know, like I remember when like y'all, like you and I and Poetic Thrust, we did a thing at Purchase. It was I forget what the event was called, but like I had my djembe and y'all were just rocking out in front, and like since then, just like the growth has been exponential, and to like see you next to peers that we all love and respect as like someone who's you're just a force, son. I'm very proud of you. Welcome.
Thank you, bro. Thank you. No, I appreciate that. I appreciate that for real. Yeah, it's been a long time. You know. Had a lot of moments to sort of just like look over and in throughout, like you said before, with time, like time moving through us. You know what I'm saying? Like a lot of the philosophy nowadays is like, yo, this shit is non-linear, bro. Like however and whatever capacity you can expand your craft and expand your thinking on what you're doing, whether that be just fucking around and trying to experiment with something new, or whether you're fully immersing yourself into, you know, a craft that you've been putting however many plus years into. Like you gotta just accept that for what it is and be able to see it on some like 4D shit. So, you know, like the reality is all just a fucking hologram anyway, right? No,
Yeah.
that's too heady in the first 10 minutes. Let's go.
Nah, man, who gives a fuck? Nah, man, this whole you know, like if anything, the last like 5 years have really taught me that like, you know, like this whole life it's so corny, but like life is what you make of it. Like time, you know, like time's a flat circle. It's all that shit.
Exactly.
But like, yeah, no, it's been wonderful, you know, having the honor of seeing you like figure it all out in real time and like come out the other side just like even sharper than before. So I'm happy you're here and I'm happy to see you go. And, you know, yeah.
That's a fact. Yeah. And that goes for everybody. You know what I'm saying? It's been a minute. So I think we've all grown in such like incredible and very, you know, particular ways. So it's nice to see everybody just coming into what they're supposed to be doing, you know, finding that purpose.
100%, bro. Well, let me ask you the first question I ask everybody who comes on here, which is what was the last movie or TV show you watched that you had a strong opinion about? And before you answer that question, you blurred out the screen, but I can see that Sonic poster behind you. Yeah. Yo, like it's I'm sorry, my brain just went there. I was at the mall with my partner what's today? Thursday? We were there 2 days ago, and every single store I walked into had Sonic stuff in it. Yeah. Every single, like, you know, like we're like at that point where he's like he like might as well be Mickey Mouse. It's funny to me. Yo, I don't know why, but like he's just everywhere.
High key, bro. I think it's like it's time. It's just time. Like the ubiquity of Sonic needs to be acknowledged by everyone. It's definitely it's obviously some childhood nostalgia shit, like growing up, and obviously just the mentality behind this super fast, super brash, always getting the job done, cool fucking hedgehog. Are they marsupials? I don't know, but
or maybe I don't remember.
Like, yeah, but anyway, like whatever the fuck a hedgehog is, like that is just like it's a characteristic that I think people have started to really resonate with, and especially with the movies. Like it's cool seeing that Sorry, let me answer the first question.
No, that's my fault. Yeah, please.
No. All right, so yeah, I think the last joint that I watched was They Cloned Tyrone.
Woo! Crazy.
Yeah, and I really liked it. I really liked it, man. That shit, it hit. I think the extrapolation from like that blaxploitation format and being able to sort of offer perhaps maybe not the most desirable insights into the habits or ideologies that surround what is considered Black culture is like it was poking and prying in a way that wasn't necessarily you know, a destructive force or something that was supposed to take away from or denigrate from people so much as like, hey, let's really analyze like the powers at play that sort of affect the way that we have to live, you know? And I felt like that was real potent, you know, and I know some people was kind of like, nah, they wasn't fucking with it or whatever, but like, I don't know. I think it was well done.
I really enjoyed it. I I really enjoyed the visual aesthetic. I love I'm a big retrofuturism dude, so like I love the whole like you don't know what time period it is. Like they got flip phones, but they're talking about 50 Cent and like the blockchain. So it's like okay, so like this clearly takes place in like modern times, but like what are we doing here? Like, and to me, like, you know, like the only issue I had was that like the actual story itself kind of started to fall apart right when like the big reveal happens is when I was like, okay, this is starting to get a little wonky. It's still fun and I'm having a good time. Like I really enjoyed the movie, and I actually thought the ending was a great, you know, like the whole time I was wondering like who's Tyrone, and then we find out who Tyrone is at the very end. I was, you know, like it was you could tell that was that dude's first time making a movie, like making like a full length movie, but like there's so many ideas and like the world felt so well constructed and lived in. Like that's just like that did it for me, you know. Like I'm ready to see whatever he's got coming next.
That's a fact.
It's been I want to say it's probably been 3-4 weeks since I saw it, and I thought about it a couple times since. It's like, you know, like a lot of people were trying to compare it to why am I forgetting Sorry to Bother You, which like I kind of get, but like it reminded me a lot more like I'm assuming you've seen They Live before. it's like it's basically just They Live, but like blaxploitation edition, and that's fine, you know. Like and like I think it's been, you can't climb up here, son. It's what's it called? It's been a long enough time that like that story and that particular like, oh, like they're hiding everything in front of your face until you can actually see a thing. Like it's been long enough that we can like do that for a whole new generation. And I think I think they really nailed that the way they needed to, you know.
No, for
like,
sure.
That's the important part.
For sure. And I feel like yeah, the commonality between that and something like Sorry to Bother You is probably just more so the kind of like socio-political underpinning of it. Like the idea that like, okay, you're supposed to be deconstructing this life that's, you know, essentially upheld by capitalism and capitalistic aspirations, and sort of wherever your place is in relation to that is how you'll figure out, you know, your insight to the story, which is cool. It's cool on paper. I don't think it's the same thing though. But yeah, I could understand that. I think like Boots Riley is also like so communist with his shit that it's like you can't. It's like it's a different, slightly different playing field.
Definitely. Like it was like to me, Sorry to Bother You is like way more radical in a lot of ways, and also I think just like a more like, you know, like that one also kind of got away from itself closer to the end, but like I thought that was a little more tightly constructed, and you could tell like I don't want to say you could tell that he's made a movie before, because I actually think that might have been his first movie ever too, but like that felt like, you know, like what he was trying to say was so it was like so undeniable and so just like succinct, and he said what he needed to say, even if a lot of people couldn't jack the whole horse people shit. I like the horse people shit. I thought it was great.
I mean, and that's if you're gonna speak to anything, you're gonna speak to the fact that by creating a class system that takes advantage of the differences genetically between people, that if we're going to take that to the logical extreme, that would be the outcome, on top of the whole like Amazon sponsored compound housing situation and like all that shit. Like, you know what I mean? Like it was deep. It was good. But They Cloned Tyrone. I fucked with it. That was the last one. And then TV shows. I haven't really watched a lot of TV, to be honest with you. Like I'm on, obviously, like you could judge by the name, but like I'm obviously on my anime shit. And like so like the last anime that I watched was Bungo Stray Dogs. I don't know if you're familiar with it, but it's like,
I'm not actually.
It's a crazy like formula for writing, because like I'm not even gonna get into too much of it, but essentially there's a superhuman population, these people who have varying powers and degrees of powers and abilities that they're born with. But all of the main characters that you're really going to interact with, they're all named after famous authors. And the power sets that they have abide by the genre and the ideology of the authors that they're named after. It's like, it's fucking crazy. It's actually really dope. So that's been something like, okay. And again, like common theme of like being really tight in the beginning and then maybe like, I don't know what's going on a little bit after, but the most recent shit, I was like, all right, I don't really know what y'all doing here. Like they got a Dostoevsky like character, and like he's he's literally dismantling reality with this piece of paper and like writing things in as they would be. Like it's real ridiculous. It's real ridiculous, but it's really good.
That sounds tight.
Yeah. It's entertaining. So if you got time, you can definitely catch up on that shit.
So where can I find it?
I want to say it's on Crunchyroll. Or that'd be a safe bet, because you know I absolutely use all of the legal formats in distribution and appraisal of media up to this point. I have never done anything other than that, so I don't know why anyone would suggest that. You
could just say you stay on the cartoononline.net, bro. It's okay.
Hey,
no one's gonna hurt you.
I didn't say it. No. But I know it's definitely up for streaming. You know, we catch the shit and just like, all right, let me just binge the fuck out of this.
See, I'm happy you brought that up because maybe I think also about like 2 days ago I was like, not that I've fallen off, but like I haven't been watching a shitload of anime lately.
Yeah.
Like there was a period of time where I was I think I mainlined all of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure Diamond is Unbreakable in about like 2-3 weeks, which is so good,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
I had just fallen off for a bit, and then I was like, yeah, let me just like watch this, and then I was like, okay, I'm gonna come back, start Golden Wind, because this was right before Stone Ocean was starting up on Netflix. So I was like, you know what, I'm gonna do, like, I think I was like, I watched too much JoJo's at one point. I need to put this aside for a month, and it's been like 7 months, and I haven't watched. I haven't caught up on JoJo's. The new One Piece movie's out, and I've been meaning to finally, I've been meaning to start, like, because I was initially reading the manga. As like you're gonna like I don't know how caught up on One Piece you are.
All right, this is about to be a controversial ass take, but it's about to be controversial because niggas be coming up to me all the time like, yo, Nakama, yo, you must fuck with One Piece. I'm like, yeah. I'm like, all right, no. So for me, I got as far as the end of Dressrosa. And I was like, this is fire. Let me just take a break because I've watched too many episodes.
See, and did exactly what I did.
It's been like a couple years. It's like, bro, and it's fucked up because I'm like, because of all the like awareness that I have around the series and the fact that I've been checking in with a lot of the other like YouTubers and shit, and things just be talking about just culturally talking about it. So I'm like, I basically know what's going on. And I'm like, nah, but I'm not really like actively like watching it or reading it. But like I have a love for One Piece in what it represents, if that makes sense. Like I'm a little off the series as it is right now, but I think one day I'm gonna catch up and just do the whole fucking thing.
So do you remember what episode you left off on, or like what chapter you left off on? Like the number?
Oh fuck, nah, no way.
Okay.
no shot. But it was definitely like I was definitely a good ways into the shit though. I was definitely good ways into it.
So let me tell you how far in I made it. Maybe about 4, 5, 6 years ago. I made it up to Arlong.
Oh damn, that's like the very beginning.
The first Arlong fight, like they beat him, and it was because I was reading the manga. I was like buying the manga from the store, and then I was like, I don't have any more room for these. Like I want to keep reading, and like of course you can like find it online, watch the show, whatever. I just like you, I was like, all right, let me stop here, figure this out, reassess. And then I just never did. And like I love it, like it's great. I really want to catch up, seeing Luffy hit Gear 5 and looking like the Mask. I'm like, yeah, I'm like, I need this. Like they're almost 1,100 chapters in or some crazy shit. So like like between that and just like what's it called? Like my girlfriend just got like heavy into anime within the last year. I've been trying for like 7-8 years, like, hey, would you like this? You like this? You like that? And then eventually we found the one, and like Desiree has just been watching everything. But like Des isn't really into like well not to say that Desiree is not into shonen, but like Desiree likes like romance anime, like queer romance anime, which is great. Like I've been having a great time with it, but like I just haven't had like like I gotta catch up on JoJo's, gotta catch up on One Piece. I just like haven't been in like an anime headspace for a little while, and I'm like really excited to like get back into it, because like like I'll like see things around and be like, oh, it's time to do a Space Dandy rewatch. Oh, it's time to do a Full Metal Alchemist rewatch, or like I have the Samurai Champloo DVDs. I'm like, it's time to do a rewatch of that, and but I'm thinking like I want to start the shit that you just recommended. I'm waiting for Spy Family to come back. I gotta catch up with Jujutsu. I gotta catch up with Jujutsu Kaisen.
No, JJK is going so crazy right now.
I'm so mad at myself, bro, because like, yo, like I I think I made it through like 16 episodes, and then once again I was like, I'm gonna stop here and then pick it up again next week. Never happened. So like I'm just ready. I'm like I've been seeing all the JJK things going around, and like I mean like I ran through all of Chainsaw Man in like 2 days. Like I'm just like I'm just at the point now where I'm just ready to really like commit and like dive back in again.
Nah, you definitely named some good ones, because as far as the manga, like JJK with the manga right now is like stupid. Like even in comparison to where they are, because they haven't even gotten to the I'm not gonna spoil it, but there's something that happens that changes the playing field. So they haven't even gotten to that shit yet in the anime. And
Got it.
in manga, they're like post that big thing that happens. So like we're in the depths of some real like high key like major writing right now. And then and yeah, obviously Chainsaw Man. Tatsuki Fujimoto's a fucking monster with the way he's writing. But yeah, no, now you brought up some good ones. And also if you're looking, so here's one that I like. As far and this might help with your partner as well. It's kind of like find that middle ground. The Adventures of Psyche K.
Oh yeah, Psyche K.
Hilarious. I fucking love that show.
That was one of the ones that she started with. That was like, oh yeah, maybe I do like this anime.
Yeah. It's too good. It's too good. And the comedic timing on it is so like key. But there's that, and then there's Love is War, Kaguya-sama.
See, I've heard of Love is War. I haven't started it yet.
I'm telling you, you'll think one thing starting it, and then 2-3 episodes in, you're like, wait, I'm fully invested in this shit now. Like, what happened? Like, but yeah, it's actually a really good blend of I think the more like shonen like archetypes of moving towards a common goal and strengthening oneself to face the challenge that's impending, and sort of knowing the big looming thing in the distance, and like attacking it from different characters' perspectives and shit. Like it's really, really well written. So I'd argue that that's actually like one of the better intro points for heads who are like, they like shoujo or like they like kind of like the romance stuff, but they also want like an interesting like pacing that keeps you on your toes. Because a lot of times with them shows, it's like, you know, it's cool for like the first couple episodes, and you're like, all right, we kind of doing the same thing over again. It's like, all right, how many beach episodes have we done this season? Like, you know what I mean? Like, which part of the student council festival are we doing? Is this part 1, 2, or 3? Like,
right, type shit. Yeah.
But yeah, man, nah, there's so much crazy shit out. I actually, we were talking about Shinichiro Watanabe and the fucking Space Dandy and Shampoo and all that, like so classic. You know, obviously one of the bigger things that made me and Yo link in the first place was recognizing that we both like that shit. But one joint, you ever heard of Ergo Proxy?
I have, but I haven't seen it.
Ergo Proxy is gas. Ergo Proxy is another one that I actually like recently just went back to rewatch just because of like the era that it came out in and the particular art style. It's like it's so fucking dark. Like if you're not like looking for like dark stuff, then don't fuck with it. But
I like dark
as
stuff.
far as if you really can deal with some like dark, heady philosophical shit, like that is absolutely the one to go for. It's got this there's a virus that goes around through all of the AI. They're called auto revs in the show. So there's a virus that goes through all of the auto revs in the show, which basically forces them into cognition so that they feel as though they are absolutely experiencing real human emotion and the dynamic range of those emotions and being invested in particular relationships, even though from a class perspective, they are absolutely like bottom of the barrel and treated as such. So you can imagine that a virus called the Cogito virus, where all of a sudden your, animatronic servants have suddenly become self-aware and now want to enact, a sense of power and dynamism amongst people, could be really fucking bad. So there's that as like the baseline starting point, and then everything else that comes after that is so fire. I'm gonna start making a list at some point. That's definitely gonna be on there, because like I've heard of it, I've seen it around. Maybe even a couple other people have told me about it. But either way, like I'm just now like once I because I started Snowfall a while ago too, and that's another show that I like. I mean, Snowfall's not anime, but like no. Like I kind of like I started that and like was mainlining that because I think I started it like right after it ended. I was like, okay, it's finally time, and I made it through the first 3 seasons, and then I watched the first 2 episodes of season 4, and once again was like, I need to put this away for a second, and I just haven't gone back to it. So so once I finish Snowfall, I'm back in. There you go. Hey, back on the way.
I'm back in shit. But let's run it all the way back with you. What's the first movie experience you can remember having? It could be at the theater, it could be at your cousin's house. First thing that comes to mind for you.
first thing I'm gonna say is probably going to see The Matrix in the theater like the day it came out in fucking Cross County. like that was a that was a crazy experience for sure. Because I was so young, like 99 or whatever, like seeing that in the space of being, it was also like an empty ass movie theater. It was like middle of the day type shit. Like my dad really wanted to go to see it. So he just took me, he was like, yeah, let's go. So, and I didn't know what to expect because I didn't have any like awareness of like, okay, I should watch the trailer and see what I'm getting myself into. Like, I'm a kid.
Right.
So I'm just like, all right, cool. It looks like explosions and guns. All right, bet. And then, I'm watching this scene and this Burrow's mouth gets fucking melted shut, and then they start trying to like take the thing out of him with this. I'm like, all right, what are we doing here? Like, what's really going on?
Like, what is this?
yeah. So I think that's stuck with me forever because of like how clear there was like a sort of a parallel to the New York sort of setting. It's like gritty, urban, sort of like everything is like dark and dingy, but there's like a warmth and a light to it, which resonated heavily with me just at the time, just on some like life shit. Just because like I feel like I was like just becoming aware of the fact that like life can sometimes not be fair.
Yeah,
if that makes sense. So that seeing that movie and realizing that like the impetus for Neo's whole journey was like, yo, you have to make the choice, like of him like talking to the Oracle and her saying you're not the one. It's like she's not saying he's not the one. She's just saying that right now you're not the one. Like you got to figure out whatever it takes to get to that point. But as it stands right now, you still got more to do. Unsaid, but still implied. And like that, I feel like that was something that I've like picked up on. And from that point forward, like just in my day-to-day life, I was just like, wow. It's like everything is the Matrix. Like,
right.
Like not to be like super fucking cringe, but like that was definitely like a youthful feeling that I tried to like follow through into my later life where I could make more sense of it and say like, okay, maybe it's not literally the Matrix. Maybe it's just a compartmentalization of purpose versus ambition versus your living circumstances and what it is that you desire versus what it is that you can actually do in the present moment, yada, 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 then you get to the existential bag.
Yeah. Bro, that movie unlocked that for so many people. Like how old were you? I assume you had to be like what, like 5, 6?
No, I was like, is shit
7 maybe.
Yeah, I was on 7. Yeah.
Okay.
Like,
we were born the same year. Okay, makes sense. Yeah.
But yeah, man, that like I wouldn't be surprised. I think a lot of people even currently are like going back to that shit. Like I've seen a lot of folks like rewatching it and like putting people on that have never watched it and just been like really like absorbed in the idea that the that the framework and also pop culture. That's the other part. That's the other half. Is like there's the framework of the philosophy of the movie itself, and then there's like the pop culture aspect of it. That is like you're not gonna get the references to all these other things if you don't watch this or like the red pill, blue pill meme. Like it's.
I literally just had this conversation with somebody else on here like when did I talk to Reese? Shout out to Reese Langston, by the way. I think that might have been like 3-4 weeks ago. Yeah. Because I'm like everybody else on planet Earth, I saw Barbie, and of course they do the red pill, blue pill thing with like the fucking high heel and the Birkenstock. Like it's just like like when I saw the movie for the first time in the theater, like there weren't very many kids, but like for the few kids, I was like, that's gonna be their first time experiencing like the red pill, blue pill thing, but like it's so. Like the Matrix is like, even if you don't like the movie, like you can't deny like the cultural impact that had on everyone's not even just in terms of like its references, but like people will start like digging into like philosophy and transhumanism, both in terms of like gender identity and like our relationship to technology. And like like a lot of that for people started with the Matrix, like like we talk all the time about like the special effects and how like the fucking fight sequences and the choreography is super dope, because of course it is. A lot of it still holds up too, which is really amazing. But like like the thing that really gets me is just like that it's like, you know, like cliches are cliche for a reason. Like that shit opened people's brains. That was a head bust. It was one of people's first head busts, like
Yeah.
in like a really profound way, you know. And now I'm thinking about it, was the second movie like when did It's You Who Bends and Not the Spoon happen? Was that the first movie or the second movie?
That was the first one.
Okay, yeah, yeah, you know, like stuff like that, because like, you know, like I think about red pill, blue pill all the time, but the two things that always stuck with me about that was It's You Who Bends and Not the Spoon, and then the bit where bro in the real world had been taken over by Agent Smith, and fucking like Neo can see like everything looks like it's on fire, and they wind up blowing his head off, and like his head explodes, and it's like all like orange, and so like orange and black and white, and it's just, you know, I just like that shit, like even though like I didn't 100% understand the implications of it when I first saw it, but it was just like that shit just looks so ill. Like the Matrix is one of those movies that works on so many different levels. Like it's really smart and thoughtful, and like it will, you know, like it will open your mind if, you know, like you said with the Oracle thing, like if you're open to accepting that. Right. But if not, it just works as like a crazy cool fucking retro futuristic action movie. Like it works on every level, you know, like not every movie works on, you know, like 4 or 5, you know, like not every movie works on 2 levels, never mind like 4 or 5 levels, you know. Like so that's like that's really ill to me. Like that movie's one of one. It's a classic.
Yeah,
you know?
That's a fact. Yeah, and like you said, it stands the test of time. Like so many situations where you can just pull a reference and just have it be perfectly relevant to everything that's going on in your life.
Yeah,
you know?
Man.
It's like, so find yourself chasing after something you know you shouldn't be chasing after, going after the white rabbit. And it's like funny because it's like it's folded into the whole Alice in Wonderland thing, which is
exactly
like its own universe and lore of like implication and what that truly means as far as temptation. Like, yeah, it's beautiful. It's beautiful.
Yeah, I'm like, yeah, like I'm still I have so you know, like all cards on the table. I haven't. It's been a minute since I've seen the first Matrix, and it's something it's something like I've been talking about it enough recently that I think it might be time for a rewatch, because I think I saw the newer one. I can't remember what it was, the one that came out like 2 years ago. Revolutions was the third one. Revolutions was the third one.
No, I thought was it Revelations?
Maybe, I can't remember, but either way, like whichever the newest one was, I watched it. I was like, this is like, I was like, this is cool. I didn't love it. Like I loved what it represented, and I loved what it was trying to do. But I was like, this is like, what I want to do is watch all 4 back to back. One day, or maybe like I'm gonna take a week, maybe in the next couple of weeks, and like finally sit down and like watch all 4 of the Matrix movies again, and see like how the new one really folds in with everything. There's just a lot to chew on, you know.
I wasn't really too much of a fan of the newest joint. I guess just because I felt like it was like a weird insert of like the nostalgia that came with like wanting to see Neo and Trinity like be together, and like what their relationship meant to the whole trilogy, and like feeling like that, like, okay, if that was the most inimitable part of the entire story from beginning to end, and that was the thing that was used as kind of like the anchoring point to bring the whole like thing almost out into the real world, as in the way that they put it, that like, you know, the Matrix is actually within the mythology of its own series, like, you know, like the Matrix exists inside of the Matrix, which was the point of the third movie, right? Which was that like the cycle repeats itself infinitely outwardly, to the point where the person who's the one who's supposed to reset like the program essentially like is almost like aware and then unaware of themselves simultaneously.
Right.
So like, again, I like the idea behind it, on the sentiment, but I just felt like it was really clunky. And I'm not gonna lie, like the more like modern, like they're trying to like inject some like youthful flavor or whatever, like I was like, I don't know, it was a little corny, like, you know what I mean? But again, like I think it was good for what it was trying to do, if not flawlessly executed.
Yeah. You know, like I'm more or less with you there. Like they, you know, like anybody who comes at something as like big and amorphous as the Matrix, like in that context, is already given themselves a huge challenge anyway. And like,
Yeah.
you know, like I wasn't really expecting them to stick the landing like that. That's a really difficult thing to do. But you know, like once again, like I watched it and I was like, this is like I had a good time with it, but I didn't walk away. I mean, like I like personally, I don't even remember really enjoying Reloaded and like I mean, like I enjoy watching Revolutions.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
it's a great movie to sit down. Like when I was younger, that movie used to come on TV a lot. So like if it was on, I would just watch it. But it's kind of garbage, you know. Like it's kind of like not a good movie, but it's enjoyable to watch. You know, like it's enjoyable and comforting for me. But like it's kind of trash. But
yeah, it was yeah, I don't know, when they did the whole like the programs, the like with the young Indian family, and like the whole like the programs, like the next set of programs that were supposed to be compartmentalized and dealt with within the context of the Matrix resetting itself, and like Neo being a part of it in its entirety. I was like, I don't know, it just got really weird. It got weird. I was like, what exactly are we getting at with this? You know, if you're gonna abide by the architect and what the architect was saying, that there's a matrix within the matrix within the matrix, and you're going to continuously do this. And the last time we did this, it was however many years, and then we're going to do it again. And this sort of like self-fulfilling prophecy, essentially. Yeah, like it was cool, but it just didn't make sense and maybe that's why they did the fourth one, because I feel like it didn't make sense within the context of the again, Neo and Trinity's romance being like the carriage that pulls through the entire thing, of like the absolute, like you can't get around any, or you can't really dissect or discern any of these other things until you understand like unconditional love, to the point that like somebody would sacrifice themselves in order to save the life of someone else. It's like that's what it essentially boils down to. So yeah, like with the whole like, okay, we're gonna start over and all of a sudden, like, cool, okay, I guess. But like the Mr. Smith fight, you know, again, like the crazy ass effects. I was like, I don't know. It felt a little forced. Felt a little forced. But
yeah.
But I can't, you know, I don't know. I don't want to be too critical of these things, because again, I damn sure couldn't do it. Or at least if I could, it would take me a very fucking long time.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, no, I can imagine what the pressure was also to like do some like really high end blockbuster type movie when like the first one wasn't real. Like it was framed as like highly stylized and action and shit, but like once you recognize that there's a demand for a particular style, it's like I feel like they were kind of like forced to do more of the big, you know, theatrical CGI shit than they weren't necessarily to like fully flesh out the dimensions of the plot, you know.
Man, no, that shit is too real, especially considering like what the Wachowskis like wound up doing like in between and after. Like I don't know if you've seen Cloud Atlas, but like that movie's insane.
Yeah.
Jupiter Ascending's insane. Like, you know, like they like this is that's their bread and butter, you know. Exactly. Like they're, you know, like they're not afraid to take these like big risks, and it's like really amazing to me to see just like how much money they were, you know, like Jupiter Ascending is basically just like the most serious episode of Futurama ever made. And they got like $150 million to make. Like, you know, like their ambition is really, it's always been really inspiring to me. And they're always, the Wachowskis are always going to be super fascinating to me because of that. Like, regardless of whether I love or hate the movie, like I'm gonna watch it and figure it out. You know, like
exactly.
Yeah,
they've left such an impression on just pop culture in general that it's like you can't miss it. You gotta see it through, you know.
Right. Yeah. No, I'm always check it. But you know, like as you get older, I mean, like it seems like that was something that really like. Well, I mean, maybe not at first because you said that like you saw it when you were a kid, but like as you get older, you remember one of the first movies that you like really connected with and like resonated with in like a deeper way, other than just like this is 90 minutes of entertainment and I really enjoyed it. Like not necessarily something that's like artful, but like just something that like just like it meant something to you, like you were watching a capital M movie. type shit.
Yeah. I think as I got older, I think even it wasn't that much longer after. I forget when it came out, but Pan's Labyrinth. Pan's Labyrinth for sure. Yeah, because like that shit, like I think I wasn't expecting the emotional depth that was in that film. And seeing like the way that like Ophelia is framed and like this very like, you know, child lost in the woods, is like this is absolutely like myth and like what myth is based on, and like, but you know, contrasting that with the real world circumstances that myths are usually born from. And Del Toro being able to like do both at the same time, like that shit like blew me away. And then on top of that, obviously Doug Jones, but as the Fawn and the Pale Man, I'm like, all right,
classic.
You got it, bro. Like nobody can do weird ass creepy hand movements like you, bro. Like I don't know.
He's an icon, son. And like it took me some years after I saw it, but you remember Mac Tonight? Like he was kind of before our time, but like the Moon Man from McDonald's. In the commercials, he was the first person to play Mac Tonight. That was the first thing. That was the first thing he ever did. He was Mac Tonight.
Crazy. What the fuck? Wow. Yeah. Okay. Man is an icon. What the fuck? Like,
yeah, like that was like the first gig he ever got, was doing those Mac Tonight commercials.
Holy shit.
But yeah, no, it's so crazy you bring that up, because I just watched it again for the first time in years a month ago with my sister and my dad, because that's Pan's Labyrinth, one of my favorite movies of all time. I was the exact same way with you. You know, like I had seen Hellboy, but then I saw Pan's Labyrinth, and I was like, you know, just like you put it more perfectly than I could. Just like the whole, it's like the relationship between like myth and fairy tale, and like how the stories we tell ourselves and the stories we read help us navigate the world, and just like all the different like all the characters, and just like the juxtaposition between, like, you know, you'll have a scene where like like a military orderly's got to get his leg chopped off, and then you know, like you have Ophelia going through and like running through the woods with the fairies and like feeding magical stones to a toad under a tree, and then you come back and like this, and you know, like this general is like beating the shit out of a dude. It's, you know, like it's just like and like it never feels like gratuitous or over the top. Like everything feels about as like fantastical, or like as like gory or visceral as it needs to be. Like I remember telling my sister this after we finished, like that movie, like I kind of judge every movie I see based off of my first reaction to stuff like Pan's Labyrinth. It's just you know, like when I judge anything, whether it's movies or music, it's like, is this the best version of what it's trying to be? Like that's kind of where I work from. And like Pan's Labyrinth is the absolute best like I can't imagine that movie being done better than the way it was. Like it looks fantastic still. Like from the first moment I saw it, I was in like high school, or maybe even in 8th grade when it came out. But like it's just like that movie is like the absolute perfect version of exactly what it wants to be, and it works for me, you know. Like because you know, like something can be the perfect version of what it's trying to be, and you just don't like that, but you can at least appreciate how, like, whatever. But like that, it just fires, it just hits every receptor and neuron in my brain when I watch it. Like it's like it's just like I'm always activated every time I finish watching it, you know. It's
most definitely
amazing movie.
And that joint just like, it really just gives you so much room to just like, at least for me, like it made me think a lot about, like I said before, like the overlap in like how reality and the fables and stories that we tell, you know, our children and you know, just people in general compartmentalize like the reality of the world and it's something that could be fantastical, but also still provide the lesson of being visceral and dangerous, you know. You think about like them Brothers Grimm tales and all that shit. It's like that shit is hard. It's all horror, bro. Like straight up, every single one of them shit is horror movies. But you know, if you look at it from the right context and you learn the lesson, or you get the gem out of it, it's like, all right, don't go fucking around with people that you don't know. You go wandering off into the woods, you know. Right. Like even like the whole like you know, the wolf being in the grandma's clothes. It's like, don't be deceived by people who put on a good facade, because there might be danger. You know what I mean? Like all those things kind of, they have to operate on like a very like front facing level, and then they also have to reinforce themselves in terms of, you know, what the story is asking of the characters. And like Del Toro is just so good at doing that. And I think that's why his Hellboy movies work as well, is because Mike Mignola and the way that he writes is also like kind of like history nerdy, going into like, okay, how do we extrapolate from that and then turn it into something that still feels fresh, and it feels like it's its own world, but it's very much connected to the reality and the continuity that we exist in. Yeah, so I fuck with both those creators for that reason.
Yeah, same here.
And like, then oh no, my bad. I was gonna say another joint that resonated with me more recently than that was fucking Parasite. Holy shit! That's like easy my top 5 movies of all time now. Like, just top to bottom, like, oh my god, like
masterpiece, bro. Like,
absolutely. I always, like, anybody that I like, you know, like talk to about like movies and TVs and shit, I'm like, yo, have you seen it? If you haven't seen it, go watch it right now. Like, we need to get that into your head. Like, oh, it's so good. It's so good.
Nah, man. Like, I can't, like I saw it for the first time. I fell asleep part of the way through because I was like really tired that day. But like I watched it again after, and I was like, I can't remember the last time I fell asleep through a movie, watched it again, and then like immediately was like, oh, so I fell asleep like right when shit was getting good. Okay. Like it was just like, once again, like perfect version of exactly what it's trying to be. Like just like masterful fucking comedy, drama. The acting's great. It looks gorgeous. Like,
and the shot selection, all of the framing is so beautiful. I'm like, yo, this could be a painting, bro. Like, what the hell?
Every you know, like, it's like, you know, like, I feel like this is like a lazy comparison, but like it really does remind me of the way like Ghibli movies look, you know, like you could like look at like a Miyazaki movie, and like every fucking still in a Miyazaki movie looks like a painting. Like you could say the same thing about Parasite. Like, you know, like my favorite shot in the whole movie is of the first one with the husband, who's like, his head's like peeking up above like the first stair in the doorway, and it's just and it's literally like, it's just like his head down here, and the little kid sees him.
Like, and that part bugged me out, because when you compare it to the painting, to the drawing that the kid did, like when the sister was like, oh, he's, you know, where he's like, he's psychologically damaged, and she's like doing all that bullshit. It's like almost the exact same fucking framing, and I'm like, oh my god, with the face at the bottom and everything. I'm like, yo, this is brilliant. This is brilliant. Like, what?
It's
so good.
What an incredible fucking movie, man. Like, it's just like, you know, like I saw that, and I remember like walking out the second time and being like it doesn't happen all the time, but I was like, this is why I love movies. Like, this shit reminded me like how much, you know, like stuff like that. And like, I felt the same way after watching like Train to Busan. I'm not sure if you've seen Train to Busan. Like, you know, like, you know, like as far as like horror and zombies go, I was like, this is how you make one of those. Exactly. You know, like this is why I love this. You know, like I feel that way when I watch Black Dynamite. Like that's why I love movies. You know, like that's to me, like, it's my favorite movie ever, even though, like, as we said before, like, it kind of falls apart in the last 10 minutes, but like that first hour and 10 minutes is like perfect movie making. You know, like, just it's once again the best version of exactly what it's trying to be. And like Parasite is like, I don't do this as often as I used to, but like they put it out on Criterion and I immediately caught the DVD. Like I have it at my crib. Like it's like I needed it, you know. It's one of those that, like, if you know, you could take it off streaming. I have that shit. It's never leaving my side, you know?
Exactly.
That's one of the really cool things about living in the time we do, because like we have, you know, like physical media is still a thing, but like more often than not, I don't find myself going out looking for physical media unless it's, you know, a person I really love and want to support, or B, you know, like something that really touched me and connected with me. on some like real shit, and I'm like, I need to own this.
Yeah.
You know, like like that's why I'm so tight that I haven't been able to find Atlanta on DVD because like because like it exists, I just can't find it anywhere.
Word,
but like that's a show I want to own all of Atlanta on DVD. Like
absolutely,
even the third season that I didn't think was all that great. Like I want it all, like just to have it. You know.
Wait,
like,
so what was your critique of the third season?
Mostly just like the one-off episodes felt completely unnecessary. Like some of them were cool and interesting. I really liked the Trinity to the Bone one. I thought that one was was really great. What was the other? There were a couple others. I liked Three Slaps, the one that started it out. Those two were my favorites. The others were like, because like I get the point. The point was to like reinforce everything that like the characters were going through. But I'm like, that's what the characters are for. And like the fucking rich wigger poor wigger shit was really dumb. It was like that was like fucking freshman film project shit to me. I was like, this is just so I was just like, get this out of my face, man. Like I don't like I really felt like I should have been like walking over to like the film building from Fort Awesome to watch that. Like that's how I felt watching that. I was like, get this fucking surface level, like, oh, I just figured out what race relations and fucking like colorism is shit out of my face. Like, come on. Like, that's just me. That's just my opinion.
Okay. All right. Fair enough. I definitely thought the episode, the college one, the black and white joint, I definitely was like, I don't really, what are we doing? That one definitely threw me for a loop. I did like the one with the white dude and the daughter and his wife, but really it was because of with the like it was like a basically like a reparations bit. But I liked that one, and the reason I did is only because of one thing. And there's like not only but like there was one thing that stood out to me out of everything was they were having the conversation in the very beginning of the episode, and he was on his phone. And they said something about a lamp, about getting rid of a lamp. Yeah. And it was a throwaway ass line. And no one was, like there's nothing to really acknowledge in it. And then when he goes to the ex-wife's house and goes back outside and he's about to get into the car and he's looking at his phone, you just see the lamp standing next to the garbage, next to the car. And I'm just like, damn, that was funny. Like, if anyone were paying attention for that one thing, like, and the frame, it lingers just long enough for you to notice it. And you're like, I see. Yeah. So like little shit, like, see, I'm a sucker for shit like that. I love environmental storytelling. I love things of that nature because it gives so much energy and life to the world, But I feel you. I do think it was definitely like probably of the weaker showings as far as the entirety of the series is concerned, but I still fuck with it.
No, that's cool. It wasn't like like the whole season. It's not like I didn't like the whole season just because of that, but like that was the first time where like it felt like like what we all love about Atlanta is that it like didn't really feel the need to like capitulate to like white eyes ever, and like that, and like that's when it started to feel like it was, and it's like, who is this for? Like that's when I started to ask myself, who is this for? It's not for me, like, and that's fine. Once again, I get it, but like, and like, and then on top of that, like the ending of the reparations episode where like he's like he's working in the kitchen and he's having his wages garnished, and then they do the fucking freshman film thing where it's like, oh look, the white people are serving the black. Stop! Like, come on! Are you that was the first time when I was like, who is this for?
I feel you. It definitely was heavy-handed.
But like there were so many other moments in it that I enjoyed. Like I didn't see that. That's really funny. The lamp shit. I love I love the whole moment where they're in the lobby and he's telling him the story about the town that got wiped out. And A, that was a callback to the beginning of the season, and B, just like that whole scene was just really there's aspects of it that I really enjoyed, but as a whole, it's just like, I don't need this. Like this isn't for me, and that's fine. Like not everything's for me. But it just felt weird. It felt weird to see Atlanta kind of go in that direction where it's like, oh, like this whole, like they've kind of prided themselves on this FUBU mentality, and now they're like kind of walking that back a little bit, and it felt weird. That's all. But then season 4 caught it, and season 4 is great ending.
Yeah,
I love the last episode.
See, I did not like the last episode, bro. I did not like that shit.
Yeah.
Because maybe I need to like rewatch the entire series or something. But I was like, wait, so this all was just a fucking dream? I hate that. I hate that ending, bro. And you know why? Because it pisses me off. It's like all of the growth, the development, the Ern and Vanessa and what Lottie's gonna be, and the fucking and like all of the things that happened. I'm like, you're telling me this is all in Darius's head? Or maybe it wasn't. I don't know. We'll never know because we don't know if Judge Judy is caked out. Like, what the fuck? Like, what are we doing? But I guess, in the same way, it's like, it's so surreal and like out in terms of like grounding the entire thing, because that was one of the only times that you got like Darius's internal thought process.
Yeah.
So for all intents and purposes, that could have just been like just a day. Like, it's just like a day for them, and then that's it. You know, we just leave it on that note of like, yeah, we just continue living our lives the way we've been living our lives. And you know, I can appreciate it, but it pisses me off. Like, I can respect it, but it makes me mad.
I'm with you because usually I think like it's all a dream shit is like the biggest cop out on planet Earth. But like I think, man. but like it really does. Like I caught it. Because as soon as I finished the series finale, because I watched it, I think like I watched it the day of. But either way, like, because I was watching it on Hulu, the whole show restarted.
Yeah.
And you remember the very first thing we see in the first episode is the three of them in the parking lot, and you know, like fucking Paperboy just got out the car because bro smashed his rear view mirror, and like, you know, like Darius has that moment where he just like stares off and he sees a dog that only he can see. And I'm like, oh, okay, so they implanted it straight from the jump. And you know, you look at the dude that Ern sees on the bus, the fucking NOI dude who gives him the fucking fluffernutter sandwich. You know, so you know, like they were kind of playing with it from jump. And I was like, okay, you know, like I can appreciate. I'm big on foreshadowing. You know,
I feel that.
But you know, like I get it, because like once again, like if you're gonna pull it's all a dream shit, you got to pull that off seamlessly. And to me, like you know, like I haven't done the whole 4-season rewatch yet, and I'm gonna do that at some point too. But but you know, like just seeing it and like just like having the balls to commit to it the way they did, I was like, I can't be mad at this. I really, really like this ending.
Yeah, no, I feel you. Like I said, I can respect it. I don't like it, but I can respect it.
I get it.
Yeah, no, that shit it's crazy. But now that you say that though, now I'm gonna have to watch it again and see, because like I think even in that there's a different dimension of it being like not necessarily even that it was or wasn't a dream, but more so that like it's fucking samsara. It's this literal circle of suffering, like of like when you go back to the origin point of like this is that. Like when you oh shit, damn, maybe I do like it. Maybe I'm realizing now that I do like it, because if that's him finally reconciling with the loss and something that he's never spoken about or even been forward about with his any other character, and then like then that's the first time that you're really getting an interrogation into his emotional state in a real, like, tangible way, whereas every other character had that moment, and his was the one to end it, to then go back to the beginning of like, what is the, you got to ask yourself like what is it about the things that we don't say that permeate through our lives, you know? And I think you can make that argument for all of those characters. Damn. Okay. You know what? Man, I might have gaslit myself into liking the last episode.
So you go watch it again and tell me for sure. I'm not. Yeah, I'm
gonna have to be 100%.
That's hilarious. Now let's jump over to the music side of it. Like from Jump. When did music become like capital M music for you? Like, was it like around you your whole life, or was it like a thing that you kind of had to go find?
A little bit of both. I've been around family members who had like made music, and just like seeing the process of like being like fully on some like independent shit. Like,
Yeah.
You know, I watched the process of like somebody make a album cover on a very rudimentary version of Photoshop, and like print out the paper and then slide them into the jewel cases. What kind of jewel cases should we get? Because these shit is gonna break, but we can't carry more than 20 of them in the bag at any given time. So they might start cracking on the bottom, like that type of shit. So like I was definitely around it at a young age, but I wasn't really like, it's weird, bro. Like I didn't really get into like music like until I want to say I was in like middle school. Like, because I'd always been around it and I'd always been given a lot of different angles on like what good music is. But for the most part, like I would hear stuff and it would be like, you know, I'd be like dance hall shit, obviously just from all the hangs with family. Or just be like straight hip hop, you know, like Miseducation of Lauryn Hill was like basically like my nursery time, fucking like when I was a baby, like that's the type of shit that I'd be falling asleep to. So like it's always been there. But yeah, I didn't really get into music until I got into like middle school going into high school. And fun story, I fucking like I was just on my heel arc for a little bit. I was like, fuck it, I'm gonna just be bad. like so, you know, so I'm fucking around, you know, we doing all types of vandalism and sneaking into places and whatever. So niggas decided that it would be a good idea one day to like sneak into our school and start putting up fucking slappies everywhere, so them, you know, priority mail stickers on some graffiti shit. And niggas was doing that, and then somebody got caught. And they said, yo, it wasn't just me, it was these guys too. Well, no. So it was like a whole thing. The whole friend group was all fucked up. Why the fuck you put my name into, you know I'm in trouble with my mom, like all this shit. So in that time, I went, this is so crazy. I went to the superintendent's office, and they were like, all right, well, we need to discuss this. You're usually a good student, but this is a very serious offense. And they was really playing it up. And so anyway, long story short, I ended up getting a week suspension. So I'm suspended, out of school suspension for a week. And my friend of mine at the time, he was just getting into like playing guitar like regularly. Like he was pretty good too. So he was getting into that shit, and we would always like hang out, whatever. And I'm like, all right, cool. Like that guitar shit's kind of cool. Like, and I already have a sensibility of like rapping, because I wasn't outward with it, but like I would always be freestyling to myself. Like I would always be like writing little notes and shit, and like, yo, that would be a sick bar. Like I'll never say it out loud. And then so my immediate thought when I realized that I had out of suspension was, yo, I should ask my mans to borrow his guitar while he's in school so I can learn how to play and rap at the same time. Like that was my ultimate, like from the very beginning, that was my ultimate goal. It's like, let me try to run that up. So yeah, so I went over to his crib. I was like, yo, bro, like let me just hold that down. I'll bring it back to you when you get out of class, and then we just link. I'm like, all right, bet. And then that was it. I was like, I sat in my fucking in my crib for a week straight, every day, just like learning tabs, learning chords, and fucking trying to figure out like how to play like Mudhoney songs and fucking like old Nirvana shit and like some Jimi Hendrix, like, you know, like trying to play Little Wing, thinking that like my amateur ass could fucking play Little Wing.
Sorry. Just like Rebirth shit, or like, you know, like the good shit.
Yeah, no, mostly the experience. Cool. the good stuff. But yeah, you know, like that was it. And then from there, so here's and there's a kind of like a funny like addition to that, is that because of everybody wanted to get into like playing instruments, everybody was forming bands. And from the band scene, it became a whole other thing where now niggas is collaborating. We got a whole little fucking pocket of music going on. And yeah, so I'm playing in a couple of different groups. Shout out Devoy for being the drummer for literally all of the groups. So we was deep in that shit. We was making a lot of stuff, and then we both started vibing on production stuff. you know, thinking about like, how do you make a beat? Like, how does one go about like doing it? And like, I know his pops was also into music and shit, because he was doing rinsing, you know, and to be able to kind of like start to link with peers, people who looked like me, you know, and also had an interest in like expanding how to like create music for yourself. I think that was the real kicker. That was the thing that made me go like, oh, like you can do things on your own terms. Like you don't have to like make songs that sound like other songs that people have already made. And I think discovering that, and then that FL, and then fucking YouTube to MP3, bro. Like that shit, YouTube to
Game
MP3
changer.
At that point. This is like, that would have been like my sophomore year going into my junior year of high school. Like once I got to that point, I took my fucking shitty ass USB mic from my Guitar Hero set, plugged it into my laptop, wrapped the fucking microphone in with a fucking sock, and spit my best fucking 32 and like uploaded it on Facebook for like all of 8 people to look at. And, like, and that was it, bro. That was it. I was like, yo, this is lit. I'm about to keep doing this. Like, yeah. So no, I think that was it. That was it, man. It was really just some community shit, honestly. Like it was like being put into a position where you realize like, yo, like we all have a common interest in like art, and art presented in a specific way. And we also want to be able to sort of, and this is some teenage shit too, of like wanting to express yourself, like however you see fit. So yeah,
figuring out that you can, you know, you can do that for yourself. Like,
exactly.
Getting like autonomy and shit. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. No. Yeah. We definitely. Yeah. It was a lot of different phases and eras in the process of creating that. But I think that was really when it locked in for me, was realizing that I could just make shit on my own and like be like happy with it, you know? Because when you're like, oh, but I want to listen to a song, and then you're like, wait, I can listen to my own song. What? Like head bust, like completely. Just like I'm gone. Like you'll never see me again.
God damn. So you know, like that's the impetus, and you figured this out after you spit a 32 into what's essentially a Guitar Hero controller setup, which is super duper fucking tight.
Yeah, bro. Yeah.
So you know, like from there, as you get older, where does where do you go from there? Like, are you making music on your own? Where does Poetic Thrust come into that? Like,
so,
when did
so that don't come till much later. So
I thought so, yeah.
So I was in that bag for a minute of just making stuff on my own and like linking with people and trying to figure out like what the full vibe was, you know, like cross paths with a lot of folks that you know that heads may know, just in the process of doing this shit. And then when I got to purchase, that's when I think I took it as like, I'm an artist now. I think that was it. Because before that, I was like, I've always treated music as like, this is like a social thing to do, to have fun. Like, you want to have fun with people and you want to brighten the mood. Like, let's bring some instruments. Let's fucking play outside, do some hand percussion, fucking just rock out, freestyle for 3 hours straight with no stops. Get some old English from the fucking deli, roll a blunt, and just live. Like that was the modus operandi for so long. But then when I got around the purchase heads, you know, and I'm seeing like these jazz cats that are, you know, they're making beats, but they're doing it on some other shit. I'm like, I've never even thought to put my beats in fucking 7-8 times the control. Like, why would you do that? But then I'm gonna start asking questions and start seeing other people who are just who are further along on their musical journey than I was. And it made me like tighten up. I was like, yo, yes, it's fun. It always will be fun. But there's also there can be purpose to it. There can be something to be said with the shit. So yeah, like 2011 was when I really started to like take the whole name and like artistry shit seriously, trying to push something that's a little more constructed and clear to people, other than just me trying to get bars off, you know. And then that was also, and again, like, you know, me and Devoy is like this going through the whole thing, so it's like yeah, everybody was just meeting people, branching off. And I know you spoke to Yo about this, about that time where we all kind of converged.
Yeah.
So that was a big part of it too, was like once we got to that sophomore year, meeting Yo, meeting Sado, meeting Devoy, meeting Jake, like all these heads sort of converging on a similar ideology about like music is supposed to be community, music is supposed to be fun, but music is also supposed to be challenging to not only yourself but to your peers. Like keep each other sharp, like stay on your toes, like type shit. That's when that really started to like take form, I think, in me. And then now it's 99, and that was the beginnings of 99 Sublime. And then from 99 Sublime then comes Poetic Thrust, because like we were all aware of each other's like various exploits throughout, like I remember on freshman year being the nigga that was, I was out on the fucking Great Lawn with my acoustic guitar, rapping and fucking playing guitar like I said I would.
Right. Typical
then,
college kid shit.
Yeah, right, exactly. Absolutely 100%.
Yeah.
And then after a couple months I started meeting people. I met like Pleater at that point, I met like Rio at that point, City, like the heads. And niggas was like, all right, bet, like, you don't actually take this shit seriously. All right, cool. And I started like really getting in my bag with the rap shit. And yeah, that was it. I was like, oh nah, this is different. Like, and my production sensibility, I think, was the thing that pushed me the most. Is because like I didn't really like, I always wrote and I always wanted to rap because I always liked poetry and I always liked the format of written word. But like what I really wanted to do was produce. Like that's what I wanted to do from the jump. Because when I got put onto fucking Flying Lotus, being on LimeWire, in high school, and like digging through shit. I found so like crazy ass story. Like I'm digging through LimeWire, and I saw the Zodiac shit bump on Adult Swim, and I was like, what the hell is that? Once is again,
head bust moment, like for a whole generation. I remember my first time seeing it too.
Yep. And I was like, oh hell no, I gotta know how you make shit like that. How do you do that? And so I'm like looking up the name. I'm like, Flying Lotus, who's this guy? And then so I downloaded his split tape with Sam I Am on LimeWire, and I didn't know. So I'm thinking that Flying Lotus, I'm thinking Fly Am Sam is one guy, is Flylo. So I'm like, yo, this is crazy. What the fuck? But like, why does it sound different than the thing that I heard on Adult Swim? So I'm like, now I start really digging. I'm like, brain feeder. What's a brain feeder? Like it just, it just goes down the rabbit hole from there. But the production shit was always like my really biggest source of inspiration. Like when you hear an arrangement, when you hear composition that just makes you like, that moves you, that brings you back to like a specific time or a specific place, or you like can so vividly like imagine like the moment and like have that whole like sense of visualization, like that shit, 10 out of 10 feeling, you know what I mean? Like, and it's really like, you can't replicate it until you, I think, like go deep in enough into a practice that you can create something that makes you feel that way, or at least close enough to that you can show it to somebody else and they're like, yo, it feels like fill in the blank, so that was like, it was an arc. It was for sure an arc, but definitely like from like 16 to like 21 was like the real formative era for me. Like kind of like music is now becoming more and more important and an aspect of sort of like me and my like creative individual self.
Right, definitely. So like at this point, like you're like you said, you're just starting now to form. So you're starting to form yourself musically. 99 Sublime happens. Poetic Thrust happens. Like everybody graduates. Like y'all are still doing shows. Fucking like, so like like you're doing this. You're working with Poetic Thrust. You're making music on your own. When do you start noticing people like? When do you start noticing people pay attention to exactly what it is you're doing?
That's a good question. I mean, I think it changes depending on who you ask. Like there's like different, different scenes and different pockets of people that you kind of like cycle through over time. But I would say that like, I think around the 99 Sublime era was really when niggas really started to like be like, oh, you can actually like, you can do this shit. Just because we were like, obviously we're always in the city and playing in the city, even being at Purchase. So like that whole era of like crossing over with a couple of like Palisades events. I know Yo had mentioned that too.
Right.
And like just meeting other people, meeting like again, like meeting fucking Richie, you know, like me and Richie were roommates randomly. Like we were just randomly roomed together, bro. Like, you know what I'm saying? So like it's, and you see like, you know, from then to now, like it's just crazy ass trajectories of movement. But yeah, I think when the collectivist mentality came into it, it really became something that was tangible for people. And then for me on my own shit, like I would only say that like real shit, like I'm kind of like still pretty young in it, like as far as like people really fully getting the scope. Because in reality, like Hohenheim's Burden, like when I was doing that, like that was COVID. Like that was literally me challenging myself to be like, yo, nigga, you got to drop something every month for at least a year. And like I got pretty close. But in the process of doing it, like I felt very much like, yo, I'm developing my own language here, like with the way that I'm putting together this work. So I really wanted to grow and stand on its own, even away from the shit that I was doing with PT and the way that away from the stuff that I was doing with Poetic Thrust, because I'm with 99, because like I felt like it was just its own thought process. You know what I mean? It's its own insular thing. But yeah, I mean, PT definitely fucking helped. I'll say that much. we were out here fucking doing that shit every week. So obviously people were tapped in and getting aware and acclimated to like seeing multiple visions of like hip hop and jazz artistry sort of intersecting, and then being able to take various approaches, or you know, like say like, oh, I like this one, I like that one, I don't like that one, I do like this one, and like seeing all these different styles sort of converge, especially at in you know, in the middle of fucking Williamsburg. It's like, yeah, you know, you gotta make it go up, you know. That was really part of that was shaving my teeth for real, was getting that live part down, of just being able to like play some shit and like really have people feel you, you know.
Right. Yeah. No. And like to like not have it be like forced and corny, because it's so easy for like the live hip hop jazz ensemble to like spill over into something like, you know, like whether it's like highfalutin or just like, man, this just like doesn't, because like, like I can't tell you how many like live jazz rap fusion bands I've seen where I'm like, either these people think they're above everybody, they think they just discovered something that nobody else has figured out before, or they're just trying to be the Roots. You know, and like even the Roots are kind of like whatever, but either way, like, you know, like I remember, like I'm sure you remember, like the last show that I saw before COVID shut everything down for a year and a half was you, Akai, and Arm & Hammer. At Baby's All Right. That was the last show I saw before COVID shut everything down. You know, and you know, just like seeing, and you know, like at that point, obviously, like I mean, like I had been tapped in with Poetic Thrust and I'd seen everything going on, but like I hadn't seen y'all play a bill with, you know, definitely not them, but just like that felt like a really special moment for me, because like I knew y'all, and you know, like I already had a relationship with Akai, and I had a relationship with Elucid and to an extent Woods. So like seeing those two parts of my world converge and be like, wow, like everything just came full circle in that moment was really, really special. I like that a lot. And like, you know, so like, but you know, you mentioned you mentioned the Hohenheim projects. There's 9 of these motherfuckers. There's 9 of these things spread out over a crazy amount of time. So so like, what was the impetus for that? Where did the idea to do these come from, and why 9 of them?
All right, so I'll answer the easy question first. So 9 is like, that's my shit, bro. That's my operative number. Like if I see a 9, I know I'm going in the right direction. Like that sounds crazy to say when you flip it, but like, you feel me? Like, there are so many ways to if you want to get into like the numerology shit, like some people, you know, they say like that it's indicative of a sense of justice and sort of a righteous path is meant to be not taken lightly. Essentially, is like and to be like easily divisible by 3, and 3 being such an important number. Like you kind of say, like for me, it was a thing of like I'm not. How do I say this? Like I'm not like OD onto the numerology shit, but I do when I see patterns, I sort of abide by them. So
Yeah,
like if I notice something that's consistent in my life, I start seeing a specific number, I start seeing a specific type of, a specific like a set of input, and I'm like internalizing it. I'm like, all right, bet this is the thing. Follow the thing. Follow the trail. Follow the breadcrumbs. So that's why 9. As far as the impetus for it, yeah, like I was so I had this whole arc during the time that we were at Lucy Rouge before it closed down, RIP Lucy. Before that, like I was working on this album for like 3 fucking years. Like it's called Human Error. So
Yep.
I've been working on that for like 3 years, bro. And I was like, yo, it's not, I wanted it to be a statement about where I was in life. And then life kept happening. So I kept changing. And, shit, I mean, I'm talking all types of wild ass circumstances, like, and just, there's a lot of like family shit going on at the time. There's a lot of just growing that I was doing, both, in like on purpose and kind of incidentally as well. So that was a thing that made me realize like the amount of time that I spend like thinking and analyzing and trying to, if I do this or if I do that, or basically overthinking was like it felt like I was taking myself a little bit away from like the joy of just like making music and releasing it so that people can hear it. Like I felt like I was so far away from that because I was so deep into the creative process that like I was like, nah, I can't do that anymore. I can't spend another 3 years not dropping anything. And I think in turn it turned into like this fucking challenge to myself. Like, all right, fuck it. I'm gonna just everything I do, I'm gonna drop it. Yo, everything drops. Like, And it started off as 2 songs. It was right around my birthday. It was right around I'm the 30th, so right around Halloween. I was like, yo, I'm gonna make like a romantic song, some like heartbreak shit, and then I'm gonna make a song that's all Halloween references, and then that's Fuck Me Up and Tamagotchi Hopscotch. And then from that point forward, it was like, yeah, like I just gotta keep doing this. Like I have to. And I started to like, build out this idea of me paying my dues for the time that I was quiet. So that's where the Hohenheim's burden part comes in. Like that's where the gem of it is because it's like if you're familiar with FMA, you know that like Hohenheim was going through that whole process of like putting at rest those souls that had been sacrificed the first time that that giant transmutation circle had happened, and they did the massive human sacrifice with Ishval. So watching that, when I was younger, and then like thinking about like what is the price that you pay for holding on to things that are better left laid to rest. And that's what I felt like each of those songs was. It's just like, yo, this is something I got to do. I have to say it. I have to do it. It needs to be out there. However it's received is how it's received. However it's framed is how it's framed. But I know that it's something that just needs to come out. It needs to be out there for people to be able to absorb it. And also for me to be able to look back and reflect and say, like, this is where you were at that point. And especially during COVID, it was like, what the fuck? Like, so many oscillating emotions. The Black Lives Matter shit was going on, and like obviously all the fucking protests and just this like quietude that's kind of like imposed on everyone. And then the folks who want to come out and like and dip around the specifications of what people would say you should be doing or should not be doing. Like there was a whole lot going into that. So yeah, the whole process really just broke down to I gotta put in that work. I gotta put in the work that I felt like I was withholding from myself and from the rest of the world, to be able to kind of like come out on the other side and be like, all right, here I am. Like this is Knock in his fullness. But yeah, that's a pretty good way of putting it.
Yeah. No, to me it sounds like it was penance. almost,
yeah, bro. Yeah, for real. Like, I don't know, and it's not even like it's not on no fucking Da Vinci Code shit. I'm not like
right. Yeah.
But it's definitely there's definitely this aspect of like, yeah, you just gotta sit. You gotta sit with where you are currently. Just acknowledge that it's like there's always further and more that you can do, and accepting that fact and living in that fact, and even hitting the wall and then saying, well, fuck, that's the wall. It's a tough ass wall. Let me see if I can either climb over it or walk around it. Or maybe break through it if I have to, if it's really if it's really an impediment to me. And that's obviously that's a metaphor. You can apply that to a lot of things, but
yeah.
but that's where I was at with it for sure.
And so like these projects happen, and before we get to Human Error, because I didn't realize you've been working on Human Error for that long before it came out.
Yeah.
Just because I'm curious, like our mutual homie Gang PTP.
Yeah.
Like PTP has been going forever, but like when did your relationship with PTP start? And like where did Gang come into the picture?
That was like, what was that? 2.5, 3 years ago. Like, I had gotten put on the Gang's work because of An Unknown Infinite when it first came out.
Yeah.
And like, I had always been like, there was plenty of people that I was like aware of in the scene. Obviously, Arm & Hammer, Akai, like, and like the circle of names that I was like hearing and sort of like seeing more of as I'm going out to shows and shit. I felt like, okay, like there are heads that I need to tap in with just on some like philosophy shit, like never mind like music, just pure like we need to talk. Yeah, and then I tapped in with that album and I was like, yo, this shit is crazy. And then I saw that he was doing the sampling class, the cohort. And I hopped in on that. I was like, yo, I'm like really interested. This is fire. Like, and we just started talking and chopping it up. And then from there, it was like, yeah, that was it. Done deal. Hez was just fucking really just like talking every day, sending voice notes back and forth, trying to figure out how to make sense of the world, you know?
Yeah, right.
Yeah, no, it's just real shit. That's the homie for real.
That's so tight. Yeah, no, he's someone I've had so much respect for years, and he had reached out to me after he heard my on the episode of This with Akai that I did way back, like almost 3 years ago at this point. Jesus Christ. But like, it's because like I remember when the last King Vision Ultra album Shook World came out earlier this year, which once like I just checked it while we were talking. I can't believe Shook World only happened this year. Like that's what we mean when we say time is a flat circle.
Yeah, exactly.
And like I had seen you going crazy on your own for a while, but to like go through Shook World and to see all these names of all these people I have a lot of respect for. Like I see Masai, I see Amani, I see Elucid, and then I see you. And I see your song, and I'm like, oh, okay, that's like, like if I remember correctly, I think I might have gone to that first, and I was like, oh, I gotta hear what Nakama did with the Gang, and I hear Swing, and I'm like, wow, like just to like see you go over that kind of music, I was like, wow, this is like really amazing, and it just feels like a, it really was just like a why didn't I think of that moment, like it just felt like such a natural fit.
Yeah, it definitely was. It definitely was. And like, like me and Gang for sure got shit. That's all I'm gonna say. But like,
hey,
like as far as like the overall like sonic palette and just the shit that we was talking about, and like obviously the whole meta on Shook World in and of itself is like,
yeah,
you just gotta get people that have unique perspectives on the shit that can sort of speak to the constituency of folks who would support, who have lived through these experiences and have just been in and around the change that has happened in New York over these years. So to see that, and then to have already been talking with him about that in multiple, degrees of both personal and just like anecdotal situations, and then talking about like music shit over the course, like how the scenes have evolved, the community has evolved around the scenes, like, it was only natural, that like we found that middle ground. And then also like real shit. Like, you know, you mentioned like Amani and Masai, like those are the homies. Like that's long time we had like, you know, I remember in '99 we put a bill together up at Purchase to have at the time the collective that they were a part of, Budo Kiba, come up. We did like a split bill. Yeah, right. You know what I mean? So it's like it's crazy because like niggas have always like been aware and interested and like overlapping and just been like on some cool shit, but it's like it's only the work only makes sense when it makes sense, you know. And it's like everybody all got circumstances and shit that they're working on and shit that they got to do. So it's like when it finally locks in and comes together, it's always like, oh, of course, like, yo, this is fire, because it's like, yeah, because naturally, of course it is. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
you know, like it was just meant to be type shit.
Yeah,
and before we move on, like, you know, like just like speaking to that sense, I just realized I forgot to mention Dream Crusher, Queso, and DJ Haram in there, just because those are all people who I've seen grow, and you know,
absolutely,
like, just like, you know, like just like having Shook World be this like collective of, you know, just like minded people from all around, and just like everyone, I don't know, like that really, you know, like especially considering the big moves that so many of them have made in the last, you know, like 8, 9, 10 months. You know, like that really felt like this like big incubation point for a lot of people, you know, you included. And before we get to Kindling, I want to talk about Human Error.
Yeah.
So like, you know, you mentioned that this is kind of, you know, like this is really like, you know, like people say labor of love, all that shit. Like this is like a real, you know, like I was listening to it earlier today, like, you know, just like the sheer amount of different kinds of music that are on here. There's like guitar shit, there's straight rap shit, there's ambient shit, like there's electronic shit. It like bounces all over the place, and it really, but you know, like it doesn't feel like scattered, or like it doesn't, you know, like everything fits together, and like you're the glue binding it all together. You know, like just like your style is already so frenetic and so all over the place as it is, that it just makes sense. So like, I can't even imagine like what the process was to put this together. So like, you know, like in lieu of, you know, because I feel like you already kind of like hinted at like what was going on there, so I'm not going to ask you to reiterate, but like, you know, like, so you finish Human Error, like you know, like life stops lifing for a split second, and you manage to finish it. Like you step back and you look at what you've created. Like, how did it feel to finally get to that point where it's like, this thing I've been working on for 3 years is done, and like this is me, you know?
Yo, honestly, like even now, I'm so glad that it's out in the world, but I'm never playing that shit again. like straight up, oh man, like it. You know what it was? It really felt like I had fully materialized the process of me making the work, and that the work was now emblematic of the process itself, even more so than the inspiration for the song. Because like on some shit, like there was a lot of prep and things that should have kind of steered that project in a particular direction. People that I had initially wanted to work with, and just ideas that were on the floor that, you know, could have been materialized in one or two or in any number of ways that, you know, I was very resistant to, because I was so invested in like trying to capture a moment. And now that I look back on it after all that, like it really just felt like I just did fucking therapy with myself for 3 years. Like honestly, like, you know what I mean? Like all them songs, like there's a reason it's just called Human Error. Like all them songs are like pretty fucking like dark in their own way. Like, and it's not even on some like brooding, moody shit, but just more like, this is just like me, like speaking from a very vulnerable place. And some things I'm sure, like, you know, like, so you get like an idea of what I'm talking about. You may not get the whole thing or the whole gist, but it's like, I know what I'm saying and I know what the fuck that shit means. And it's hard. So, and as in difficult, you know, and with that difficulty, I gained a greater appreciation of the process of being able to put your feelings to word and be able to express them, especially in front of people. Because I was workshopping all those songs with Poetic Thrust, bro. So like, various iterations of that shit were performed every week in front of people to the point where they were singing the lyrics back, but it's like that's not even like a song that you'll be able to play. Like it's not this is not the band. This is just some shit that I'm bringing out for niggas to hear because it's like this is what's on my mind right now. Like, I gotta do
Facts,
it.
yeah.
So with that, with that sort of retrospective on it, like I feel, like I said, I feel good about it, but I feel like I don't need to revisit that point because it was something that I knew I needed to work past. And everything that was a part of my life at that time has now sort of transcended into like, yeah, that was that era, this is now, you know?
Right.
And I think I've effectively mostly effectively let go of the sentiments that I associated with that time. And you know, it was like, yeah, it was like I felt like I was like myself again for the first time, like for real. Because you know, I can imagine, you know, with anyone who spends 3 years on a project or anything for that matter, like you're gonna feel like a totally different person by the end of it. You know, You've gone through so much, you've seen the growth. It's like you're watching your baby come out, and it's like, you know, I'm not advocating for the abandonment of children, but this motherfucker, I gotta put him up for adoption somewhere. Like that's kind of how I felt at the end of this. Like that's my problem child. But you know what? I love him just the same. I'm not even gonna put him up for adoption. I still got that. It's still there.
Right.
But it's just like this nigga be giving me trouble, bro. But yeah. I think that was the main thing, was just feeling refreshed. Like, and little known, I don't know if niggas know this. Like, I know a lot of people may not know this, but like my name didn't used to be Knock. You know, it was Envy, ENXVE. Like, I was on that Nameless Vagrant shit for fucking years. And when I finally changed the name, I think it really materialized something for myself. I was like, oh, like I'm supposed to be a conduit. Like I'm supposed to be like, I don't know if you ever seen the Lego movie.
Of course I have. Yeah.
So I'm a Greenpeace. I'm the Greenpeace. Like I gotta connect other people. Like you need to use your energy in a way that allows others to shine and do what they do, and you just be a conductor for that and facilitate it as best you can. And then whatever things that are left over, you can basically transmute into something of your own. And that's kind of where I'm at with it. It's like,
right.
I learned so much from my niggas, bro. I learned so much from my homies. I learned so much from the people that surround me, not only musically and creatively and artistically, but also just on some life shit. And like, if you, that's where my full stance is like, if you don't do that, I'm not, you know, like I'm saying this is like me talking to me, but like if you don't do that, you're gonna find yourself at odds with the rest of the world and the way that you look at the practice of creating art. Like the thing that makes it the most beautiful and the most fulfilling is the fact that you can connect with so many different people and experience so much of life, not only from their experiences, but also because of the things that they suggest to you to move and learn and dive into. And like, if you're not doing that, you know, what are you doing, bro? Like, you know, and it's just awesome human shit for real.
Yeah, no, totally. You know, like it's just like, you know, like always stay a student. Like that shit keeps you young, and it keeps you just like inspired, and like you're gonna, you know, you don't know where you're gonna find it, but like, or you don't know when you're gonna find it, but you're probably gonna find it through people that you can like confide in. Like nobody's meant to do this shit alone, and you know, like just as someone who's been, you know, like documenting and moving through all of this, like as it happens, especially since I started this, like that's one thing that I've noticed and really appreciated about everybody, like within like your specific, you know, or rather our specific, you know, like cohort, and just like that really, like it just makes me so happy to see everyone just like really come into their own, and not even just doing it alone, but like doing it together and then going off to do it by themselves, and they get a big look and then they come back, they get another big look, and then people just kind of, you know, it's just like, that's just really, you know, like you know, like you grow up hearing all these stories and just like seeing movements happen and think like, damn, like I'm too young to be a part of this in like a tangible way. But like, I mean, like this isn't like the best example. Or at least it's not like one of one, but like I remember like when G Unit was first a thing and just thinking like, damn, like seeing like 50 and Lloyd and Buck and all of them just like do their thing, and just like even just listening to like the album they dropped and just be like, man, like they're like riding through this together. And like, you know, you could apply this to like any collective, you know, because like I kind of felt that way about Wu-Tang when I first heard about Wu-Tang. You know, just like and you know, just and you know, like learning about everything that happened with like Def Jux before that went down, and you know, like Odd Future and all of that shit, you know, like that, you know, like kind of being in college when Odd Future first popped and like seeing that, you know, like them like as a collective, or you know, like not to you know, like not even to like lump everybody who's in this right now into a collective, because it's obviously bigger than that, but it's just like, you know, just, you know, just like being on the outside looking in or something and being like, damn, I wish I could be a part of something like this. And now like,
that's real, bro. That's real. It's like, it's crazy because like when you talk about like the collective and like obviously that the perspective that others may have, like in not necessarily understanding like how the thing works, but knowing that it works. I think that's the part that makes it so interesting. Is like, I don't know, you know, like even in the like with the Wu-Tang example and the Odd Future example, it's kind of like not the same thing, but rather that it's the same dynamic that appears, is that like you see like that all of these people have big ass personalities, and they all have their own shit that they're into and the lane that they're trying to carve out, and somehow they still figure out how to like work within each other's parameters to like make cool shit and present it as a unit. Like, so when you see shit like that, it's like, oh, like it's not just like, you know, we're a band and we play songs together. It's like, nah, man, there's a lifestyle that goes with the shit. And to be able to embody that and kind of live in that reality on a consistent basis, and, you know, and to just have a sort of like a rubric for yourself of like, this is how we do shit. This is how we don't do shit. You know, like, and to be able to check in with yourself and also ask others like, yo, what do you think about this? Yo, what do you think about that? Oh, you know, and sort of like field your queries, your concerns, and your ideas to a larger group of people is like the biggest superpower you could possibly fucking have. Like, straight up, it's you know, it's boundless. And another thing like that, actually, there was a moment that I had, well, Yo and I had backstage at a Brooklyn Bowl, because we had played with Auntie Ballers. We had opened for Auntie Ballers.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and like that was like obviously it's fucking crazy because they had like 17 moments on stage at the same time. I'm just like, holy shit, we only got 7 and we're stressed out. What the fuck? Like, so right. So you know, but after the set, their set was done. You know, we were like kind of like wrapping up. People were like starting to file out, and it was like super beautiful. Just like so many melanated, beautiful people in the same place. I was like,
that shit
in Brooklyn. I was like, oh, that feels good. That feels good. But yeah, we were talking, you know, after, and we just like chatting up with some of the members, and they were like, yo, man, like that same energy that y'all bring, like it seems like that family shit is the absolute crux of all of it. And that's what they were saying to us, was like, yo, you gotta treat it like family, bro. Like any community of artists that you work with, you just check in with each other like regular ass people. All that music, write up, who's mixing and all that shit comes secondary, bro. That's business.
Yeah.
Like, but you got to put humanity first, because ultimately, like, what do we have but that? All these other things are just constructions that come out of the very basic need for other people to lift us up in order to maintain any type of structure. You know? So if you don't do that first, then, you know, it's gonna be hard to get your shit off. And, you know, and you learn that the easy way or the hard way. And I think a lot of us have gone through various iterations of like the format of like working with a group of artists and then trying to like extend and reach out into other things or diversify how we're looking at things. And like maybe your identity becomes wrapped up in it. You know, I think that's something that a lot of people deal with, is like, how do you exist within a collective and still maintain your sense of self.
Yeah.
And not like measure yourself against other people or like try to like put your work against someone else's. And it's like, that's kind of the beauty of it, is that like once you accept and once you accept how different everything is, like that's your green flag. Or I should say that's your checkered flag, because you know me.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's your go signal. It's like, yo, you're gonna see that like everybody has their approach. Everybody's got their specific science to their shit. So when you treat those things as like us just sitting down at the table and chatting and chopping shit, it's like, yo, you're gonna come up with some crazy ass recipes. You're gonna make some fire shit, you know?
100%, son. And you know, like, to formally wrap this up, or not to formally wrap this up, because I got one more question after this. But like, you know, like, but yeah, you know, like, just like in the spirit of that, we were talking about it a bit off camera, but just like the installation that y'all just did, and of course you have like Kindling out. Kindling's been out for just probably about a month at this point.
Yeah.
So you know, you know, like, you're kind of, so you know, like, talk to me a little bit about both the installation and Kindling. And like, the thing that interests me about Kindling so much is that you said, oh man, I gotta pull up the quote and not be stupid. You said that for you, this is a precursor to the impending arc, and arcs are, you know, like, arcs are something you're very in tune with. So just like between Kindling and the installation and the project that y'all did a little bit ago, like, what, you know, like talk about that a little bit, and like, what, not necessarily like what are you working on next, because I hate that question, but like, you know, but you know, just like, what, like, how might those things be informing the next steps you're about to take? There we go.
Okay, all right, cool, yeah. Like, all right, we got it. So I think, so all right, so as far as the piece we were talking about, places,
Yes.
it's like this it's a multimedia piece, and basically is the intersection of a lot of different media kind of operating all simultaneously. And I you know, brief rundown for those who weren't familiar, but it started out as a written work where I said that, you know, I wanted to encourage people to sort of engage with written words socially, and to provide parts for people to kind of read and trade off, you know. And like, if you're hanging out with some friends and y'all ain't doing shit and somebody's scrolling through their phone, like, yo, let's read this. Like, just as something to kind of like, yo, let's diversify and change the way that we approach the written word, because I feel like a lot of times it's such an insular experience that you don't really like, you're not really pushed to share what you're reading with other people unless you already know that they like what you like. It's like, there aren't really ways to fully engage with somebody in the moment while also reading. And I want to subvert that somehow. So that ended up being a long form poem that I submitted to the Independent. They picked it up and they really liked it. I was like, all right, cool. Got a lot of good reception. I was like, all right, bet. Started talking with homies associated with Still Moving, and they were like, yo, let's make this.
Shout out to Still Moving, by the way.
Absolutely.
They're amazing, bro.
Yeah, for sure. And, you know, Still Moving PTP, like, you know, it's gang shit. But we kind of put that forward as like, let's get a cast together and let's start to think about how we would materialize this piece. And my thing was, I'd always wanted to make something like a multimedia experience that wasn't so grounded in like theatrical presentation, is to be able to do like guerrilla style theater almost. So in approaching it from that perspective, you know, we got a bunch of different people, very talented folks. Shout out to our cast, shout out to Obi, Inky, Imani, like everybody who was involved, Sato, of course, Juno, Zach, like Nala, Kanaiji, like y'all all fucking killed it, bodied, of course. But we put on this performance, which is essentially a long form reading of the original poem. Each character is given their own sort of lane and backstory, and you're acting it out in real time as the musicians are playing and responding to what we're doing, and as the dancers are responding and sort of interacting with what the musicians are doing. So it's this circle where you just keep feeding into the loop of what's going on. And the way if you visualize it like from a bird's eye view, it's like a whirlpool.
Yep.
So one point starts, it comes out further this way, it connects to something else, and then one person goes out further that way, then they come out further, and then it swirls right back into the middle. And we just keep trading off in not only in lines, but also in energy. So that, I say all that to say that has been a major like breath of fresh air for me in the process, being able to work with people outside of the realm of just doing like rap or just like production or traditional music, presenting traditional music. It speaks to that inherent like need for community entertainment. And I think going back to like the precedent of like what is theater truly, it's like, this is entertainment for the common person. This is entertainment for the person who maybe may not know what they're walking into, but will see it and say, oh shit, that's really cool, I want to go check out more of something like this. It's the idea of drawing people into a universe, into a world, and then saying that there are so many different stories that we can tell within this medium. Let's continue that process. So, and the first one was great. I really, really loved it. And working on the second one now, like the iteration. I don't want to give away too much of the sauce, but like, but it's definitely like the thing evolves as we evolve. I could leave it at that.
Right.
And Kindling, Kindling is a completely different, like, it's like on a different continuity plane, like than places, but it's they inform each other, obviously, because I'm involved in all the shit. So I definitely, Kindling is like the last remnants of what I needed to say in Hohenheim's Burden to lead to my current disposition on the way that I look at the world and the concerns that I have about the world and the concerns that I have about media and the concerns that I have about the things that we put at the forefront of our works versus the things that we may be able to be more discerning about. I'm trying not to give it away, but yeah, that is where that leads to. So if you listen to Lights Out, which is the last song on Kindling, the official last song on Kindling, there's a bonus track, but if you listen to the last song on Kindling, you'll get an idea of where it's going. So yeah, I could leave it at that.
Phil, that's just a perfect opportunity to just have people go listen to it.
Yeah.
But like you're just like at this point now where you feel comfortable enough to like expand beyond like even just like music and just like it's like really just like taking it in like a multimedia direction that's like unique and interesting, and that's something that I'm excited to see the second one. I didn't get to see the first one, unfortunately, but like it's just like like it's just like you're just you're coming into your own and like really ready to like expand into something bigger, and that's really special to note. And just and you're like on top of that, like I know the music's gonna be crazy, and I don't know, it's just really dope to see. Like I feel like I mentioned this before, just like with being a part of movements and just like being able to be like, damn, I wish I could have seen that happen. Like I feel like I've talked about this with a few people, but just like the idea of like in 2010, maybe even 5 years, like having people younger than us, like just like looking at this experience and being like, damn, I wish I could have been a part of that. Like we're gonna be, like we're involved in things, like not to be too like pretentious about it, but like we're involved in things that people are going to be talking about in 5-10 years and being like, damn, like what was it like to be there, to experience that, like that's such a strange phenomenon that like you don't really get it until you get older or until you get to like do it yourself. But like being a child star is complicated, but like it's just like really interesting just like to just like see you at like it's like you're the type of artist who you always feel like you're at a nexus point. And I love that about you. You always you always feel like you're on the precipice of something new.
Bro, you are like, not the first person to tell me that like this week.
Crazy.
Nah, bro, I appreciate that because like, that's really what it is, like That's my favorite. That's one of my favorite cuts from the Bleach OST, bro. On the precipice of defeat. It's like, and right when you're ready to fucking give in and say, nah, fuck it, I'm not doing this shit no more. It's like, nah, you get, and you start hearing that shit, you start getting hyped up. Like, nah. We gotta evolve. We gotta transform. We gotta do something different. Like, you know, and that's the beauty of it. I think that's and again, to all those people who might be thinking like, how do I get into it? Or like, maybe I feel like I'm like outsider, like, bro, like, be respectful, but like, just hit us up. Like, yeah, like, you know what I mean? Easy. Like, be right, like, just pull up to the shows and fucking tap in with these and have conversations. Like, it's not that crazy. Like, and I think it for sure can be like a point of consideration for people to be like, what's the entry point for this? Like, where do I like walk into this whole universe of artists and their creative processes and all everything they do? And it's like, yo, just be genuine, man. Just be genuine. Just fucking talk about the things you like, support people that you fuck with, and keep an open mind and an open heart. And I guarantee you're gonna find where you need to be.
Right. Yeah. No. And on top of that, just like don't be afraid to just like be yourself. You know, like you don't gotta, you don't, and you're like more than that. Not to just like echo like be yourself, but just like, you know, like don't be afraid to, you know, like you don't gotta like everything. Like have a mind, have an opinion, have a perspective. Use context. It's important to just like make your own opinions, just like figure it all out. But like just like once you do all of that, like once you become more comfortable in just like being yourself and not feeling like you need to please everybody, like that's an important thing to do. But you know, obviously, be respectful. Don't be a dickhead. There's a difference between being somebody with an opinion and a perspective and being an asshole. Don't be an asshole, obviously. But you know, just to echo everything you just said, because it is important. I get questions like that a lot too, and that's like I think you put that beautifully. And to formally wrap this up, Knock, if your life was a movie, what would it be about? I think I already have an idea based off what you just said about Bleach, but either way.
If my life was a movie, what would it be about? All right, so here it is. A 20-something who just left a really shitty job. And he's trying to figure out what to do with his life. Trying to figure out what the fuck to do with the next however many years of his life and what it amounts to. He falls asleep after his very shitty job has ended and he's coming back to his shitty apartment. And he realizes that in his dreams, he can operate in a completely different continuity of an alternate universe, where all of the decisions that he made to lead him to the point that he's at now are the opposite. And you play out both situations in parallel. So you see the uber successful version of this guy and the completely downtrodden version of this guy living out their parallel paths, only to realize that the right one was the one that had to go through all the fuck shit because the other one ends up being completely ruined by the end. Expectation is not to be abided by. Make your own opportunities. That's what it's about.
That's so real, man. I was gonna make the easy everything everywhere all at once joke there, but that's like that's great, you know, like and just like, you know, like being conscious of, like I'd watch that movie. Like that's something that I would watch and then go home and think about for 6 hours and not be able to fall asleep for a bit. So I love that.
That's, man, you already know it hits, bro.
You already fucking know. So Knock, this was great, man. Thank you for being here. Like, thank you for being here. Thank you for all the work that you do. And just like, once again, like you're constantly on the precipice of something new and interesting, and not in a way that's like that makes you like pompous or like, you know, like you're not Kanye in that sense, you know, like that's like it just feels so genuine and feels like I can feel the passion out of everything you do. And you know, like just like as someone who's been lucky enough to watch you come up from the beginning, it's, you know, like you were meant to be here, you know, like so just like Yeah, man. Thank you for being here. Thank you for the work, and thank you for the trust. It means a lot.
Always, man. Always, man. I appreciate you doing this. I appreciate you putting it out there for the good folks. So it's all love.
Yeah, nah, man. This has been such an incredible project to just like take on, and I'm happy that people, you know, like I just like, you know, like without y'all, this would be nothing. You know, like I would just be, yeah, you know, like I'm not trying to be Joe Budden babbling in a mic to myself for 2 hours. I have no interest in that. People like that shit, and that's cool. I have no interest in that. Like,
hey, man, look, hey, there was a time, bro. There was a time. There was a time. I was just talking to somebody about this. Like, you know, if you're gonna talk about hip hop podcasts and what hip hop podcast looks like, it was a pretty good prototype. Let's be real. It was a pretty good prototype.
Definitely.
Maybe not so much now, but
yeah.
You know.
Yeah, no, definitely. I was just talking with somebody about this a couple of days ago too. Just like I was just thinking about Combat Jack and just like all of that.
Yeah, rest in peace.
Yeah. No, like Reggie and everything he did with Combat Jack was really incredible. You know, like, but no. Like I have my problems with Joe Budden, but like no shots. It's like the show is successful. It's like I just listened to the interview with Vince. It's great. But like, you know, it's, you know, like I just say that in the sense that like, you know, like I'm just here to put on for people who deserve the light. And, you know, I just appreciate everyone's trust in that, because like being trusted is an important thing to me. I try to do good work, and I appreciate everybody who does the same. So just like, obviously you're one of them. So thank you. Thank you.
Of course. It's my pleasure, bro. Always.
Oh man, hell yeah.
Thanks for listening. Shout out to y'all for making it this far. And shout out to all the black people listening too, because y'all really impeccable. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and tell a friend to come through next time. 1.